You are listening to part 3 of 4 of episode 21 of the Psychotherapist Podcast, a podcast featuring real-life psychotherapy sessions with a real-life psycho, myself, Malcolm Clancy, and a licensed psychotherapist, Dr. Bob. In this part, we discuss my new sexual identity, how I am now a demi, pan, paleo, omnisexual, and proud of it. We discuss critical race theory and a little bit about what it means definitionally. And we also discuss my personal careers and goals in life. Dr. Bob introduces a site which you, the dear listener, might be interested in. I could say it right now, but you're just going to have to listen to the episode to find out. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. Peace out. Alright, we're back. So the other two items that I had on the list was the sort of goals list, and I have that document in front of me, and we already kind of talked about who Maslow is. And the other thing was switching my Bumble fucking app from date mode to BFF mode. Because, you know, I'm a polygamist and that doesn't go over well on the date mode, but I think BFF, I think you can be polyamorous isn't quite the right word, but I guess poly-friendly. I'm just making shit up. I don't know. You know what I mean.
Yep. I like polyamorous. A good term.
Not a term you want to be associated with necessarily.
Right, expression. Polyamorous.
That's a polite way of saying slut.
Yeah, how would that fit into the current notion of people identifying themselves sexually? I wonder if that's, indeed something somebody was going to come up with,
I think it's an engineered thing to break down society, bro. I'm not even kidding. Like, on the dating app stuff, I've seen demisexual, pansexuals. I don't even know, bro. And there's been one or two where I, swiped on them and just asked, hey, what's a demisexual in your words, And I just didn't get a response or whatever, so...
I've never heard that one. I'd be very curious.
I mean, I could just Google it, but, I like to, just as an example of how much things can be misunderstood, and it's something I always try to keep in mind is other people's ignorance. On YouTube, someone took a shot at me because I made a comment trying to explain what critical race theory is in very simple terms, and I just said it's basically Marxism, only instead of the model of oppression being economically based, it's racially based. So that's kind of what it's about. It's, that oppressor versus oppressed mentality is a big part of it. And someone said, yeah, except oppressive mentality or whatever has nothing to do with critical race theory, you right-wing nut, blah, blah, blah. And I was so, first of all, taken aback by that, because it's a bit like telling me, as my friend said it the other day, it's a bit like saying baseball has nothing to do with balls or bases.
Right.
Yeah. But I literally Googled it. I sent him a Definitional Britannica whatever, and I'm like, you can just read this and still tell me critical race theory has nothing to do with oppression. And literally the first sentence is the exploitation and oppression of people of color. So I just have no idea what this... It was probably just someone who couldn't stand any kind of criticism of CRT and just was like, oh, this is a Nazi we got here.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to attack this person.
Yeah, but anywho, so... Yeah, which one do you want to do first? The goals list or the Bumble progression?
It's up to you.
Let's do the goals list.
Okay.
Because I'm curious if we can even add to this as we speak. So
you're talking about personal goals, which we've been working on for forever, and they're ever evolving, ever changing, which is natural. So this is your assessment of what your current goals are at this point in time.
And I would say correct, and I will say it's a draft, and I will say that I'll put a few. I won't put the whole thing on the screen because then it'll be too hard to read, but I'll put some bits to give the audience a clue of what is going on here. But I thought, because I want to really try to build my whole framework for everything. Like, I figured the sooner I build good habits, the better the rest of my life's going to be. So, for example, I looked at into nutrition just a little bit. And, you know, I'm sure if you see on the list, well, actually, you wouldn't see it because I was just bored and had like 15 minutes to kill at one point and saw it was on my list. So I was like, okay, let's research this and just come up with, and it's a separate document so you wouldn't see it, but I basically came up with a whole grocery list with, the whole point being both cost effective and basically nutritious, you know, like, and filling and the most sort of bang for buck, and different categories and like all these things. And I'm going to do a little like follow-up research because some of the articles I saw were talking about foods that were specifically heart friendly, and I have a heart condition, so I figured that would be like, you know, so that's like something that could, I won't say like change my life, like, oh my god, I found God, but, you know, every little choice, it's gonna add up over time, the way I see it, you know. So I'd rather try to be a dude who eats like the donuts one day out of the week as opposed to every day for years.
Yep. Well, let me recommend something, and this for the audience as well. There's a website called Sonoma, Sonima, and every year they are, either first or second in wellness websites. I mean, through whatever system they use to gauge that. It's Sonima, and what I like about them is if you go to them one time and sign up, you will get, I think it's bi-weekly newsletters from them or articles or whatever they send you on the website, from the website, and they always include the big areas. And by that I mean basically mind, body, and spirit. So every single issue there will be something on nutrition. There will be something on meditation or yoga or something like that. Something on physical activity and something on spirituality. And it's just, sort of a, pick and choose what you like. It's your option. And, I gravitate obviously toward the spiritual and the psychological or the mindfulness stuff. But those are the biggies, the big wellness areas. And they cover it very well in a very interesting way. Sometimes give you short videos, instructional things, and it's kind of done in chunks. It's not an overwhelming task to read one of their articles or to do one of their 3-minute videos. So I would strongly recommend that, and you will get the nutritional stuff from that website.
So I would like to say, first of all, thank you for that. Second of all, we said, I don't know if it was captured on mic or not. It may not have been, but we were talking about Bob's Nuggets and how that can be a part of the show where he breaks something down for 2 minutes of just promoting general well-being, and I think you just nailed it. And
yeah,
I'm really also glad you brought up the spiritual part of it, because as you were discussing it, I just jotted down really quick on my sort of framework, goals list, whatever you want to call it, principles, because one little sort of, I guess, mental exercise I really would like to sooner or later take the time to go through is developing and defining my own life principles to live by. I've mentioned one before, for example, no human person should be revered before God. God is just above all of us and we're all just human. And I think that one's a really safe one. But I thought about ones that could be misinterpreted or misapplied or like more easily misconstrued. For example, one that comes to mind is a little phrase I like that is be humble or be humbled.
I like that.
I like it too, but I can imagine if like a dumb person feeling entitled to like bully people maybe like in some bizarre scenario. So I'm trying to think of like what makes a principle to me is that it's something you can pretty much stick to your whole life, generally speaking. And it's not something that can, I think, easily be misinterpreted, because something like Marxism and CRT with oppressed versus oppressed, there are people who will see a very romanticized version of things, I think, in that, and will see an opportunity for, you know, goodness and the well-being of everyone. And then there are people who are a little more cynical or just, let's say, familiar with history and such, who are like, no, this is gonna lead to a lot of bodies. I can't remember where I was going with this. What were we just talking about?
We were talking about, I was recommending a wellness website.
Oh, yes, now I remember.
Sonoma, I'll say it again, Sonima.
It'll be on the screen. And
yes. And you said that this is an example of what I will do every week. Just give a 1 to 3 minute nugget that people can use in their lives, something helpful.
Yeah, we'll come up with a new name like Bob's Burger or something, but we'll think of something better.
I like that, yeah. Buddha's best, you know, something along those lines.
How about Sir Bobbert's Buddhist Blessing?
Well, why don't we work on that, okay?
Yeah, that's kind of a mouthful.
Yeah.
All right, we'll fix it in post anyway. But I was talking about principles for life and what makes, at least as I'm trying to define it, a good principle versus a bad one is that it's like you could take a Marxist model of oppressed versus oppressed, and that's going to be your framework of how you see everything and how you dissect relationships and, you know, all this nonsense. But we've just seen how easily such a principle, you know, entitles one to say, well, I'm an oppressed and you're an oppressor, so by basic fairness, I am entitled to become an oppressor, even though I'll never say that because I'm really oppressed. But it's a little bit like, you know, I was a slave, so I get to machete everyone now.
Yes.
You know, it's like, yeah, you were a victim, and there's different ways you can approach that. And I'm not saying I'm against picking up the machetes, because sometimes there really is just tyranny and shit, but,
Yes.
you know, if you're just doing it for the sake of just killing people or getting revenge or whatever, it's like, hey, you're kind of messed up, dude, you know, and that's sad, but it doesn't make you a good person.
Exactly. So the principle part is interesting because in the spirituality group that I do once a week at Dana-Farber, it is a process where we are really looking at many aspects of our lives. And although we have an identified theme every week, it really kind of goes in different directions as people begin to explore what you know, spirituality means to them. And, you know, from, you know, a religious idea to something different, you know, to just even some of the political ideology. I mean, it's all...
I even think of like Sun Tzu Art of War stuff.
Yeah, great.
You know?
Yeah, if you needed 5 reference books on your shelf, that would be one of them, definitely.
Yeah.
The Art of War. So, okay. So you've listed these things in a laundry list formation, kind of looking at what you want to look at yourself. Right?
Yeah, and just for the sake of the, you know, people on audio, I mean, just to give them an idea of what we're talking about and what I mean when I'm saying I'm restructuring my life. I have different categories identified at the top of the list that show areas that I want to do research in or develop or improve or whatever. So just running down the list, I have down career, finance, health, security, social, long-term goals, and during this session live, I added principles.
Okay.
Principles to live by.
Nice. So you're on a roll. Keep rolling.
And yeah, so I just see it as it's a living, breathing document. It's a work in progress, because if I just assume that I got it right on the first draft, and if I don't stick with it 100%, I'm a failure. I don't really like that approach.
Right.
So we don't have much time left. I know you have like what, 5 minutes?
Hold on a sec. Yep, that's about it. 7 minutes.